Okay, this is how this masterclass is going to go. We're going to spend the first part of this masterclass where I'm going to be talking about the process of reinvention. And we're actually going to do the first steps. We're going to do the work. So have your journals, your workbooks ready. If you don't have the workbook that we sent you yesterday, just take out a sheet of paper, a blank sheet of paper, as I prepared many great questions for you, okay? I want you to set the paper on fire. I want you to write with an intensity that matters. This is not one of those classes where you will be able to be on Facebook at the same time and listen to me, okay? I want you to take the first steps and do the work. In the second part of this class, I'm going to answer all of your questions, and I'm going to tell you about the mastermind and how you can take this work further, okay? Most of you, I see many familiar faces, but most of you have done a lot of personal development work. I know the Leadership Global community really well, and many of you have done the first stages of self-awareness, of self-development. You've been cultivating, self-awareness. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcasts. Some of you might have even done my mastermind. I see several of you that have done it already. And you have started to do what I call thought work, right? You've had the experience of being the observer of your life and watching your own mind and understanding and witnessing your belief systems. Okay, you witnessed your own limitations. You kind of looked at it from the outside. And yet it still feels sometimes like you're not integrating the concepts, like everything's possible for you, but still you feel like you're not completely living it. You've had the meta experiencing of watching yourself think and watching your own thinking. But what I offer to you today is this reinvention. And reinvention means for me is finding the source of your thinking, finding where is the essence of who I am. So you need to take some time to go deeper into the person of who you are. And I don't mean the person who you've created yourself to be, but rather how you were shaped in unconscious and unacknowledged ways, okay? Before upgrading your mindset and what you believe is possible for you, you need to go into a deeper identity, going to the core, right? We need to understand your current self-image. What is the source of your thinking? How was it created? Only then can we consciously recreate, redecide your identity, right? When you think about reinvention, it's really reinventing who you are. So this is kind of next level stuff, okay? So don't worry, I'm going to take you through the process. I'm going to take you through the specific steps and how to do it. But if you really want the full effects of this masterclass and what I'm about to teach you, I want you to be super present, okay? I want your undivided attention. One of the biggest gifts that we can give ourselves and each other is the gift, the present of the presence, right? This is when we enter the space of connection. I will want you to think in a whole new different way. Your brain is going to hurt a little bit. It might feel uncomfortable. You might feel like I'm not quite getting it. I want you to be in that space of uncertainty and not sure of yourself. Like, oh, what is Nina talking about? I'm not quite getting it. I want you to be in that space and in that questioning, right? What that might feel like is like, I call it living in the question without knowing the answer. Can you be in a question, experiencing the question without completely understanding what it is about? For as long as it takes to have that moment where you remember something that you've already known. You remember something that you've actually known all your life. So for all of you that think, well, I know what she's going to teach me, you're wrong. The work that I'll be asking you to do is really important. And I don't want you to do it in your head, okay? I want you to do it on paper. And if you are for some reason driving right now or, walking or doing something else, I want you to watch the recording and then do the work on paper. I need to take some time to dig deeper, right? Okay, let's go. The process of reinvention is pretty simple, but it's not easy. I want you to think of yourself as an onion, right? There's many layers you need to look at and peel away to get to that core, to get to that essence. So the whole first part of this work, and this is what we're going to do today, is to find out who you are now. Where are you starting? Before, in the kind of the second step, looking at your relationships and what surrounds you. And then in the third part, looking at your calling and your purpose and what it is that you want to bring in the world. Okay, so it starts always with you, your relationship with other people, and then your relationship and your contribution to the world. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the map of your life and we will find the you are here spot for all of us. And for those of you who are thinking that you already know where you are and you already know what you're about, again, I want you to question this, because you don't have a way of looking at yourself with that lens that you need to look at yourself to truly understand yourself so you can change. Okay, that sounds really complicated. So I was trying to think about what is an image that would kind of convey this. And the way I want to describe it to you, and I want you to picture you being a fish and you being in a fishbowl. Inside of the fishbowl, you're swimming inside of the fishbowl, but that fishbowl is in the middle of the sea, is in the ocean. And even that you're in that space, you can't really see the glass, right? The glass is see-through. You think you have the ocean. You think everything's possible for you intellectually because the limitations are see-through, but you don't actually recognize that you're limited by the glass. So how would you know that you're a fish inside of a fishbowl inside of the ocean? How would you know if you were the fish, right? You would have to get perspective. You would have to get outside of that fishbowl for a minute to figure out what is causing you to be contained, and then make choices from the ocean that will reconstruct your identity. Okay, stay with me. This is kind of a mind-blowing image, right? I'm going to walk you through this. So first, before we actually do the work, I want to tell you a couple of concepts, right? Many people ask me when they hear reinvention, they'll tell me, okay, you're going to make my life better. We're going to make me better, right? And the first concept is reinvention is not about making something better. We're not taking something that is already invented and making it better. We're not, let's see what I can come up with. We're not like, taking a house, looking at a house and going in and remodeling and changing the drapes and changing the cupboards, right? We're literally burning the house down to rebuild a new one, right? Or we're taking a car that runs on gasoline and turning it into an electric car. It might look the same from the outside, but it's completely reinvented on the inside. And this is what we're going to try to do with our lives. So in order to do this, you can't just take, let's say, Nina Urman here and make her a little bit better. We have to take Nina Urman and completely destroy her and then consciously rebuild her and redecide everything, right? And I can already feel the resistance of this, right? Because we're so afraid, we're so attached to our limitations, we're so attached to our fish bowls, right? It's not an enjoyable process, my friends, right? When you look at that, the little chrysalis, when the caterpillar is turning into the butterfly, when you open the chrysalis, like all you see is pretty disgusting, right? It's decay and, during the process of the transformation. So a lot of this work is actually burning it all down, destroying, detaching yourself from it so we can rebuild it on purpose, right? We can rebuild it with intention. One of my friends pointed out to me that, my mastermind was called Reinvent Yourself on Purpose. And she said, on purpose sounds so negative. What is the opposite of on purpose? Is it by accident, reinvention by accident? And, even I speak English, that wasn't like my intention, right? To put this down. And so she said, why don't you just call it reinvention with intention? It rhymes so much more beautiful, right? But I want you to see that this is not about making you better, right? So much of what we've done, how we have invented ourselves has been unconscious. We've just living inside that fishbowl in the middle of the sea without even knowing that we're in the bowl, right? So I want you to think about, like, how do most people approach this? They're going to make the fishbowl nicer. They can make it a nicer, enjoyable experience, right? We can have like a little fish house, and we can have some special seaweed, and we can have, like little pebbles or whatever you put in an aquarium. And that's what most of us do with our lives. But what I'm offering is to break through the glass and experience the whole ocean in the sea of possibility, right? And that feels scary because there's sharks out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. But just to make that really clear, we're not improving ourselves. We're not getting better. The first part is understanding, where am I now? What am I about? What has worked for me? How amazing I am, and what are both, understanding the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it holistically, to actually get rid of it and choose consciously the things and the parts of us that we want to see in our lives, like to reconstruct ourselves on purpose from the ground up. So we're not adding fuel to what you already know, right? I'm not kind of giving you little distinctions or kind of special tools to clarify what you already know. I want you to think about the parts of you that you don't even know that you don't know, right? There are the things in our life that you know that you don't know. So you go and ask Google, and then you take classes, or you figure it out, and you learn how to, ride a unicycle, or how to write a book, or how to do this. But there are things that we don't know that we don't know. And it's the magic of the unknown, right? It's that magical area. So this first part is all about where we are, what we believe is true for us, the possibilities that we've already created in our lives, and how we can get outside the fishbowl, break the glass open, and swim around in the sea, right? And as I said, there's several layers. We're going to understand ourselves from the inside out, but also from the outside in, and then we're going to connect to the world, right? So this is the first part of this process. The second part of the whole process, once we have identified the limitations, we open up the glass, is to be able to look around and swim in the sea of possibilities and be like, oh my God, this is all possible for me. This is the scary part. And then the third part is kind of in the allowing and the receiving of the possibilities that are starting manifesting. And I will tell you, in my own reinventions, I went to probably 2 major reinventions in my life. I've really experienced this whole process looking back. And the first one was me being, born in Russia, born in Siberia, moved to Germany at the age of 9, where I had completely to reconstruct and reinvent myself, because I didn't have my family, my kind of extended family, my friends anymore. I didn't have my school friends. I didn't have the environment. I didn't have the language that, I could be attached to and kind of comfortable with, right? So reinvention takes a lot of courage. It takes you out of your comfort zone. So this was kind of my first reinvention. And then the second one was when I decided to kind of quit professional tennis and that career and reinvent myself professionally, while, changing a lot of things up in terms of me being a stepmom to 4 children, then having, at the age of 25, having 3 more kids, managing all of these different areas of my life. Several of you that are on the call have witnessed this transformation, have witnessed this reinvention process with me. And I feel like I've been, especially in the second transformation, second reinvention, through the part 1 and 2, I've understood myself and understood my fishbowl. I went outside of the fishbowl. I looked around at possibilities, and now I'm at the stage of allowing and receiving. The vortex of possibility has come to me, and it's actually insane what is coming at me without me doing anything. Like I never imagined things that possible like this, like just people reaching out and things are happening. And I could have never imagined that this would be my life. It feels like the butterfly is flying, but you still need to decay first, right? And I went through this process as well. I've gone through the scary phase, right? And now I feel like I'm going through the reinvention of my business as well, where I'm questioning everything. I was like, am I going to focus on this? Am I going to become more focused on the facilitation part? Am I going to do more masterclasses? Like I'm questioning all of it to reinvent it from ground up. So the idea is, how do you start thinking differently? How do you start swimming differently in the ocean that is not limited by your current thinking? But first, you need to discover who you think you are. Okay. I'm going to say this again. First, you need to discover who you think you are. There's a huge distinction between who you are and who you think you are. Okay. I want you to write this down: who you are and who you think you are. There's two different things. Okay. And I want you to see that, because where did those thoughts of who you are come from? What's the source of that thinking? That being that has created the thoughts about you, right? See that as like a little bit of a mind trip. The patterns of thinking that are showing up over and over and over. Stay with me, okay? People ask me, how in the world are you doing all these things? You have the 7 kids and you're running a business, you're traveling all over the place, we see you in all these places. And the answer is I've been out of the fishbowl, but also I'm kind of not in the world. I'm in my world, but I'm not in your world. I'm like in a different environment. It's almost like I'm in a different ocean. I've come out into my world, where the realm of possibility becomes less multiple choice and more of an kind of expansive sea. And this is what I want for all of you to do. I want you to come out of the fishbowl and swim in the sea of possibility. And how we're going to do it is we're going to live in the questions that I prepared for you. Okay, so now this is the time where I want you to take out your paper. And, just a blank piece of paper is totally fine. And don't do it on your head. Write it down. And we're going to take a couple of minutes to do this. And then if that's not enough time, because there's a big questions, you're going to go back and do them again. But I want you to do this work with me. It's so much more powerful, especially in such a beautiful group. Okay. So huge question. Question number 1, and it's not in the workbook, so don't look for it, is who am I now? Okay. And I want you to do this now. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. Right. And if you are in a reinvention of, let's say, a particular area of your life, let's say, like I'm going through the reinvention of my business. Some of you might be going through a reinvention of your health or for your relationships or, for your career. I want you to do it for both. This is who I am individually, me, and this is who I am in relationship to. This is like, for me, it would be like, this is who I am, Nina Urman, and this is who is Nina Urman Coaching, right? As a company. Like I went through this reinvention personally, as I told you 10 years ago when I became a stepmom and left the professional tennis career. And I've asked myself all of these questions. So I answered the question who I am, but I also answered the question of like, who am I in relationship to this man I married? Who am I in relationship to this new career that I was constructing back then, right? You can choose any area. Okay, go. I'm going to time 2 minutes. Who am I now? Like, how do you identify yourself? Go for it. Okay. You go, perfect. All right, work. Now, the moment you've written them down, this is your truth. This is your current truth. This is who you are. Like for me, I've written down, I'm a life coach, I'm an executive coach, I'm a facilitator, I have a successful coaching business, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a partner, I'm Nina Urman. Okay. But really, if you see it, if you can see through the glass, this is not really who I am. This is not really who you are. This is who you think you are right now. be careful. We're not judging whether this is good or bad statements. We don't care at all, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. We're just observing. We're just evaluating our thoughts about ourselves, our self-image, right? One of the things that I want you to notice is how attached you are to those things, how attached you are to your identity. Like, I'm very attached to the idea of me being a life coach. So when I'm thinking of reinvention, I kind of find myself clinging to that identity, as I was clinging to that identity when I was a professional tennis player and I had all these injuries, and the doctors who said, well, you need to look at different options, lady, right? It was like heartbreaking for me. I was like, what do you mean I can't be that anymore? This is who I am. I don't want to let that go, right? I want you to see, like, well, what are you attached to? And part of the reinvention process is exploring the idea of letting go, opening up the glass to see who I am without this identity. And I promise you, like, it feels super scary. You feel lost, because this is how you constrain yourself. There's just nothing wrong with it at all. This is how we stay sane as human beings. But the problem is we don't think to question who we think we are, because we just think it's just what is. Right? So what comes up for you when you're thinking about your identity, and who decided that? Like, it's so interesting. When I was a professional tennis player for 10 years of my life, looking backwards, I'm not really sure I made the conscious decision to play the sport, right? But I kind of like was in that flow, and I don't regret it for a minute, but it's interesting. Like, how conscious was it? Okay. All right. So the next question I want you to write down, or kind of the prop is, I have been always good at. Okay. I'll give you a minute to do that, because we kind of know what we're good at. Okay. Go for it. What have you always been good at? And some of you will have a super long list. Some of you will say, well, maybe nothing, right? Like, I want you to really, really ask your brain. All right, 1 minute is up. What I have always been good at. So for me, I put learning, performing, connecting with people, de-escalating situations, listening, making things better. I've always been good at these things. Okay. And there might be other things, I should have done dancing. I've always loved dancing, always been good at. And when you answer those questions, again, notice how attached you are. Notice how attached you are to being the nice one. Notice how attached you are to being the smart one. Like, I know many of you, have probably gone to great universities, right? Like, always attached. Look, especially in France, we're like super attached to which university to go to. Like, it becomes part of your identity. And it's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But the question is, would you be willing to give that up in order to get to that next level of your revolution? Being the smart one, being the pretty one, being the kind one. And you want to reinvent and redecide that on purpose. And for those of you that say nothing, like, I'm not good at anything, I want you to question that too, right? Dig deeper into your brain and ask yourself, what have I enjoyed as a kid when I was, kind of just in the flow of things, that I was just playful. I was just having so much fun. And when I asked my mom, what I was doing all day long when I was a kid, is I was like interviewing with the deodorant my different toys, right? And it's so interesting, because I feel like this is what I'm doing today. I'm doing facilitations and masterclasses and keynote speakers. It's like, this is what really like resonated with me when I was a kid. Okay. The next question is, what have you always struggled with? Okay. What I always struggled with? Well, I've always struggled with, and then give me the answers to that. I'll give you another minute to do that. Okay, very good. Wrap it up. So for me, what I've answered, I've always struggled with people pleasing, always struggled with numbers and math, always struggled with traditional structures. Like, I'm not somebody who's compliant to structures. Always struggled with negative and lazy people. And and more, right? Like this is a part of my identity, part of that fishbowl. And sometimes it's like we're thinking this is who we are. This is how we just define ourselves. And sometimes I meet people, I'm like, why would you ever think that about yourself on purpose? Like, why would you ever think that? But we're doing this unconsciously, right? We don't know that the glass is there. This is just who I am. This is just the truth. I'm just being authentic. Sometimes we forget that who we think we are, we have created it at some point in our lives. We want to be able to decide consciously how we want to reinvent ourselves, because what got us here is all of that, all of our struggles, all of what the things we've been good at, all of the things and thinking patterns of who we think we are. But what we want to do now is like we're going to go to a completely different sphere, like a different stratosphere, right? We want to fly higher. And we have to somehow let go of that identity to see what's possible for us, to create the time and space needed for the manifestation to take place. It's almost like a clearing that you're opening up, right? We need to let go of what is in our hands in order to reach for something new. I really love this idea, right? If we're holding on to something, even if it's amazing, right? What would happen if we let it go? We don't have all this safety, but do we allow ourselves the chance to see even more? All right, 2 more question prompts, okay? And those are very simple, and I want you to do them several times. Like just like remember, the I am statement is one of the most powerful ones that you can ever say. I am, and I want you to just finish that with adjectives. Okay. I am, for me, it was determined, driven, authentic, restless, afraid, loving, courageous. I am. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this. Okay. You did the who I am now. Now I want you to say I am and finish that. Okay. Let's go. And be really truthful and honest with yourself. All right. Time's up for the minute. Don't edit yourself too much. Just write down whatever comes through. And then at the same time, you want to write down, I am not. What are you not? I am not what? What comes up for when I say, I am not? I'm not what? Might be a tougher one for some of you. I am not. What are you not? Okay, wrap it up. I'm not. So for me, it was, I'm not a quitter. I'm not conventional, not normal. I wrote down, I'm not super structured. I'm not angry, and I'm not done. I feel like I'm not done in this world. There's still so much to contribute. And notice again, it's so habitual for us to think that we are not all of these things. And again, would you consider to give up what you're not in order to go to the next level? Like, are you willing to break down your identity that is containing you? And answer that question for yourself. Again, it's scary. I think many of us think that in order to change ourselves, we need to find out all the things that are wrong about us, all the things that we don't like about ourselves, and just get rid of them. This is not what we're doing here, right? What we're doing is we're figuring out what identifies us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the holistic approach, and we're questioning all of it. Are you willing to burn it all down? Are you willing to reinvent yourself? Are you ready to live your full potential? And there's so much resistance, right? I can feel some of you resisting this process already, like saying, I don't want to question my marriage. I don't want to question, my motherhood. I don't want to question where I live. I don't want to question, all of these identities, because I might have to leave, or I might have to not have it anymore. I can't have it anymore. Be careful. I'm not saying that you actually quit all of it. What I'm saying is that I want you to come out and look at and then redesign consciously, what is it that you want to keep? You can still make all the same choices, but you're just coming at it from a place of observing your life and reinventing each part, right? Ask yourself, are the current choices of my life limiting who I am today, and how so, right? So one of the other questions that I have in the workbook, and I want you to kind of take it as maybe post work, right, to this class, is I want you to think about the 3 decisions that you have made in your past that you're living out right now. What are the 3 decisions that you've made in your past that you're living out right now? Like that could be marriage, it could be motherhood, right? I've decided to become a mom. I've decided to marry this guy. I've decided to go into business in this. And the reason why we want to look at all the decisions is because it's one of the most powerful things you can do. It kind of defines the trajectory of your life. Like I like to call decisions choices because it feels much more empowering to me because I've chosen that path, right? Take ownership of your decision. Like I'm choosing the trajectory. And have you questioned those decisions? It's almost like we want to redecide constantly, checking in with ourselves. Is this feel true? Does this feel where I want to be? What I'm teaching the women in my mastermind is kind of choosing from the future. Instead of living out the decisions from your past, we're turning it a little bit around and we're starting to think about, what do I need to experience? What do I want to experience in the future? What are the feelings that I want to feel ahead of time? And you need to generate them now. The image that I often bring is like the train of the future has left the station and I'm on it. I'm already on it. My future has decided for me long ago where I'm going to go. It's a bit of a mind trip again. It's like your future is pulling you forward. Your future is showing you because you've made a clearing for it. You've planted the seeds over time, but from the future, from the thinking of abundance rather than from lack. And we love ourselves and we love our identities, and we're so attached to who we are today, but can we let go of it? It's one of the things I do with my clients and with my friends. I would just like give them a seed. I'll say, I see you owning your own business, or I see you becoming a mom. I see you becoming your own boss. I see you being financially independent. I see you lose 10 kilos. I see you become an actress. And it feels, oh my God, they go like, oh my God, what do you mean? Like all of these things produce so much anxiety and fear and it's uncomfortable because there's so much cognitive dissonance. But who do you have to become to live from that future? It brings up all of the fears, all of the insecurities we have. But are we willing to risk it? Are you willing to feel this uncomfortable, to go to the next stage of your growth? Are you willing to die before going to battle, right? And the last concept that I'm going to say, and then opening up to questions, is it's not so much about what you're doing, but who you are being doing it, right? That's why I didn't ask you to say, well, I've created or I create, but rather saying I am, because it's such an identity charged statement, right? And of course, your identity will always be reflected in your actions, but what we want to go beyond that just superficial level of actions towards like, what is the thinking? What's the root? Because I believe that many of us are operating with the power of the fishbowl when we have access to the power of the ocean, to tap into this, to be in the flow, to kind of harnessing and containing and connecting to that real power of your essence, whatever that means for you. Okay.